Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and it is time to recommend, probably big Spell Mage, but other decks as well to try and climb the ladder, whether it's standard or wild, getting to silver, gold, platinum, diamond, or legend. These are 5 of the best decks in both formats. I do have 10 decks for standard, but yeah, obviously elephant in the room, Mage is really dumb and will be the most highly recommended by far. And we still have our giveaway going on for a Ragnaros mythic portrait out of my pocket. To enter that giveaway, like and comment in the video, link down in the description below, the one with that thumbnail over there. If we manage to hit the next 1,000 subs by next Tuesday, I'll add another portrait. So hit that sub button, make me go broke. So looking at the decks, yes, the top recommendation, the only real new deck out of this mini set, and it is already Mage top class in standard. This deck is one of the best. It's highly targeted, and it's just very good. Mainly because of the addition, well, Portalmancer Skylock, giving you access to rogue cards, which are very relevant, and being able to cheat out stuff. So basically, what you want to do is get a coin in your hand, whether it's Greedy Partner, Metal Detector, maybe just start off with that, and then you can just play Skyla, and you can get out a Sunset Volley, a Tsunami. Because we have access to rogue cards, we have Conniving Conman, which we'll replay them and you just win. You just win. So the main strategy against this is do the thing before they can in the mirror, or aggro them down, or if you could somehow manage to win the board first and like have bad trades for them or control it, it's beatable. But it is by far the most popular deck on ladder. Creates a very frustrating play experience, very easy to play. There's not much to it. Like you can play Sea Shield and cheat out some stuff a bit earlier, save coins to get your Tsunami or Volley out, like, or you could play Surflipod and then play Artist and get the Tsunami out. There's just so many ways to cheat a billion mana. Then that's a result. This deck is incredibly good. There's a bunch of different versions going around. This one's got like the double disruption for the mirror, but basically you just want the core of the cheat cards out and you can win. Kagdar does seem to be worth playing. I didn't play that in my video yesterday, but it seems to be good enough. And yes, this is the best deck and most recommended, and be warned, it is like 100% gonna get nerfed. I don't know what the card will. They'll get nerfed, whether it's Skyla, Revert of Conman. That's for a video at another day, but be aware if you're gonna go out of your way to craft this, some of these cards might get nerfed or might not be good enough after that happens. Next, we'll go to like the biggest counters that are like the best against big Spell Mage. So we have Pirate Demon Hunter. The very aggressive decks are the main way to win. Try and get under it, kill them before they can do the things. So you play your 1-drops, you just got Burn in there, Acupuncture, Burning Heart. I don't think we have a single new card in here because we're just trying to kill our opponent. Like we play Treasure Distributor on 1, it's like wild, they don't have a great way to kill it, we just murder them, right? So there's all of that, and you got Arana the Tourist there, so you could play a card like Acupuncture, play a card like Brain Masseuse, but it's all about just swarming the board with pirates, maybe cheating out that Zilliax pretty early with all your tokens. And this is one of the best performing decks on ladder. You cannot go wrong, but again, very aggressive deck. It's certainly trying to accomplish one thing. Pain Warlock, very similar, where you're just playing your early game. We're already teching this out with Cult Neophytes to try and screw with the mages, but you get out, you know, pretty early. Your Molten Giants, your Prison Horrors, you got Zilliax with Pylon Ticking Module, same type of deal. Just get a bunch of stats on the board, try and kill them before they do the thing, and that's basically it. And your late game is like, you know, Symphony of Sins, which is just more damage, or Leroy, which is more damage, right? It's not really late game, it's a finisher, and it is doing well. Again, this is another really well performing deck if you're looking to counter Mage. Next, we're just gonna go through a bunch of decks that all have over 50% win rate at Legend ranks and Diamond through Legend. Again, I don't know how well they do against Mage, but they are doing well enough that you should be able to climb with these decks. But yeah, you're gonna face a lot of Mage along the way. First, Big Shaman seems to be arguably the best deck. I actually only have 1 Golden Cliff Dive. Let's wail out and fix that. That card is actually legit. What did I accidentally add? I don't want a Climbing Hook. I want a fully golden deck. But yes, Cliff Dive seems to be a legitimate top tier deck. Of course, you got Carefree Cookie, but yeah, you could play this, you cheat out like a Walking Mountain, a Yogg, a Kolagar, tack in, do some stuff, and then like evolve them. And one of the things this deck does against like the Tsunamis of the world, you just have giant stuff that the Tsunamis will go into and die. You have healing, it's a deck that can kind of contest in that way, and it's even still worth running Horror the Windlord, although you'll be frozen a good amount against like Zombies and stuff. But yeah, this deck has done well. While I was doing my Big Spell Mage video, I got crushed by a deck. They high rolled this, but they crushed me, so it does seem to have a shot. And yeah, it's kind of crazy that Cliff Dive is good enough, at least not a Demon Hunter it looks like, but absolutely Shaman. So you want to give this deck a try, certainly something different, and it does seem to be rather competitive. Reno Shaman also doing well, and it does run the new mini set tourist card Turbulus, which I have the text hidden here with the signature. It's the Hunter Tourist, right? You can play Hunter cards. You get to run some pretty good Hunter cards. These are the ones I thought you probably would run. You're on Parrot Sanctuary. Discount your battle cries, which could be really nice. We have the new Zephyrus in here, which is really solid. Of course, we have Sasquatch, which is just a really, really good card, and this deck seems to be going all right. I'm going to try and get a gameplay video of this. I still have to get my standard legend climb done, so maybe tomorrow, maybe today, we'll have another gameplay video where I do want to try this out and see, hopefully, that it can compete. And it's just, yeah, it looks like a really sweet Reno deck with a new tourist in there, so we'll try it out. Hopefully I can get a video out in the next day or two. Next, another deck that's surprisingly doing really well. Token Hunter has made a comeback. Over 50% win rate at Legend, Diamond through Legend, and runs a couple new cards. So it turns out Workhorse is good enough to stick on the board, so you can get those, like, you know, the saddle up stuff and all that things going on. But you're also fill your hand, as I mentioned, with like Patchwork Pals, Awakening Tremors, you have the board and all of that. Well, you play your monkey business, you can buff up the board or get bananas to, you know, equip on stuff. And this deck is one of the better performing decks after the mini set. Obviously not big Spell Mage level, but it's winning. And if you're looking for a Hunter deck and it runs a couple new cards, you absolutely, I don't think you can go wrong with this. It looks pretty decent, and your Ziliax's pile-on ticking module. So yeah, you're looking for a Hunter deck, this one might just do the trick. Double Frost DK, I think it's basically stayed the same. I feel like it probably doesn't line up amazingly well against Mage, but still exhibiting a good play win rate, still doing well enough. Like, again, all these decks are performing 50% or higher, Legend or Diamond through Legend. So I don't think much has really changed. There's no new cards in here, but it is a really well-performing deck, and if you want to, you know, stick with it, I think it'll go well. They've just teched in Hell Yeah lately, because against the mages, you play Hell Yeah, they're under the sea or whatever, might draw a plague instead of a tsunami or, you know, the 9-mana spell, right? So Sunset Volley. So Hell Yeah is kind of like a tech choice for the current meta with Down with the Ship. So something you might want to consider if you're looking to beat Mage as well. Dragon Druid, I don't know if it's running any new cards here. I'd be quite surprised. Druid didn't get really much you throw in here. Now it's kind of the same thing. We're still even running Doomkin, which is really toxic and frustrating. But yeah, this is literally the exact same deck we've seen forever. It's still doing really well. Ziliax's twin module, perfect module. And yeah, you can, you know, ramp up into the good stuff and beat pretty much any deck with that right curve. And again, it's doing well enough. It's not like tier 1, it's like tier 2, tier 3. If you got those Druid cards, you could go for it. But again, doesn't run a ton of new cards. Reno Hunter, I saw Pizza take this to like either top 50 or top 10 Legend. He had some success, and you'll be surprised. We got some new cards in here for Hunter. Obviously, the new Zeph is pretty darn good, so it goes into this deck. But we also, I can't believe it, he says Cash Cow's worth it. Cash Cow is in the deck. 5-mana, 3/7 taunt, might give you a coin or two. It's not that bad. It actually is seeing play, at least so far. So that's something to look for. But, you know, the usual deal, a lot of the legendaries, a lot of value and greed and twin module, perfect module. But this seems to be performing well enough that it can contend with those other decks. So another Reno deck I can absolutely recommend. And lastly, we'll just throw out Overheal. Priest is doing really well still. Absolutely playable. I don't think it runs any new cards because Priest didn't really get any new cards this set. But yeah, basically, you know, get the Overhealed going with your Hauler, or murdering your opponent with Adonis, or bring back Amethul. This deck is also doing well enough. So there are options out there if you're worried about Mage Stone. But again, I gotta imagine Mage gets nerfed at some point. Its play rate is still ridiculous, 30-40%. We'll have a video on that maybe in the next day, probably tomorrow, about that. But we'll go to the wild decks now. I don't think any wild deck runs any new cards. We have Pirate Demon Hunter, probably the best deck in the format. I believe I got Legend with it because I got sick of losing to Charge Druid, which I'm not going to recommend. I struggled to climb with that Togwoggle, not the Togwoggle-ish Chargered. It's so targeted and it loses so hard to aggro. It's just not a great climbing deck, but if you want to play, it can go for it. Just stomps the slow decks, but I'm gonna recommend Pirate Demon Hunter. Super aggressive deck, and yeah, it just does really well. The pirates are ridiculous. You got ticking pylon module for your Ziliax. Basically, distributor on one into like a brigand almost always just wins the game. It's like a free win, especially when you have like mana burn to go with everything. It's just absurd. And yeah, this deck is quite gross, but very, very effective. Just like Shadow Priest. I feel like Shadow Priest is a more of a worse version of it because I feel like this deck loses more to the Demon Hunter than Demon Hunter loses a Priest. So you might as well play the Demon Hunter deck, but if you rather play Shadow Priest with Benedictus, it, like, again, the curve ends at 3, right? The location's 3, but Fellwing 0 and everything else is 2 or less. Super aggressive. Obviously, you have to win really fast. You're not playing for the long game in this at all. But yeah, very good aggro deck. The Demon Seed is always really good. You can scam aggro with the big Dark Lair heal turn and Giants, and you beat most slow decks through inevitability through the Demon Seed. Quest Mage has emerged. Not the quest you're thinking of, but the Sorcerer's Gambit, the Stormwind quest, has come back. And I climbed a decent amount with this. It didn't get me to legend, but I had a positive win rate. I just, against Druid, it was a nightmare. But everything else, like, you can kind of contest aggro. You have all these removal tools. And yeah, you just win the late game with incredible burn, whether it's your double Molten Ruins or you got infinite ignites. It just wins. This deck just manages to find a way, cheats a lot of mana with Air, Spring Water, Wisdom. It's not too bad. Siphon mana can lead to gross stuff. I've completed the quest and played my reward on turn 5 with the right siphon mana thing. So yeah, this deck seems to be legitimate. It's been sticking around. People have hit rank 1 with it. So a little bit something different, I guess. A throwback to Stormwind, everyone's favorite expansion, but it does seem to be pretty effective. And Lion Hunter, absolutely a legitimate deck. The XL version seems to be worth. You want that extra health against the aggro, get that mystery egg in. You can go like infinite with the lions controlling the board, and then you go like Bran or just naval mine, right? Bran on your naval mine, and then just proc death rattles, and it can do so much damage. It's insane. And basically, yeah, this deck is doing well. Dirty Rat should just try and disrupt some of those decks like the charge druids and all of that. So there you go. Decks to climb standard wild. Not a ton of change. There have been some additions to some decks, but I feel like until we get a Mage Derf, we won't have a really, good meta, better meta than what we have right now, which I think is one of the worst we've seen in a long time. But you do have options if you want to go out there, or you could be like me, hang out in the arena. The arena is pretty fun, and you actually kind of get to play Hearthstone a little bit there. Where's Twist, by the way? What the hell is up with that? Anyways, if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Good luck on your climbs. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.